The main root cause of hair thinning in men and in women is the same. It's hormonal. This leads to a relative imbalance with testosterone. And testosterone converts to dihydrotestosterone, or DHT, that travels up to your follicles and attaches to the receptors in your hair follicles. And it starts to shrink your hair follicles over time. So your hair gets thinner and wispier. And after a while, it's not strong enough to even grow out anymore.
This is DrTalks.
Hello, ladies. Welcome back to Mastering the Menopause Transition Summit 3.0, our third year. All new interviews, all new information, all new amazing guest experts. And I'm still here, though. I'm not new. I'm Dr. Sharon Stills. I'm still your host. And as you know, it's an honor, a privilege to be here with you all. I'm like jumping out of my seat because I'm so excited. My guest, he's one of the sponsors of the summit, and the topic we're going to talk about is one that I know all of you are going to be interested in because it's about hair. And, you know, I talk a lot about inner health and inner beauty, and we talk about the terrain, and we talk about all these important things. But, you know, the truth is we all want to look, you know, we want to be healthy on the inside, but we want to look good and feel good on the outside. And I'll be the first to admit that I'm totally attached to my hair. It's kind of wet right now because I just washed it and got out of the shower. But I empathize and I know what it's like, and I have patience every day, all day. And when I'm looking at chief complaints that women in our age range, hair loss, thinning hair, it's always of concern. And so we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about why it's happening, what you can do about it, and give you some really good solutions. And so my special guest is Faraz Khan, and he is a former computer scientist who turned longevity educator, speaker, and biohacker. He is the founder of Fully Vital, which is a company that specializes in hair wellness using natural products. And so I am thrilled to have you here today, Faraz. We are going to give the ladies all the information they know. So if they are losing their hair or thinning hair, we can get them back on track and get their hair looking healthy. So welcome to the summit. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being supportive and being a sponsor, and just really excited to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, Dr. Sharon. We're proud to support you in your work. This is so critical because I got my own hair loss from my mother. And so it's very, very personal for me. And I'd be happy to share my story.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's, I always love, hearing. It's always interesting how because especially, you were a computer scientist. So that's kind of like all the way over here. Now you're in hair. So how did that happen?
Yeah, totally. So this started back when I was 21. I was in college. I was a soccer athlete, had all the confidence in the world. And then one day when I was 21, I was shampooing my hair and I looked down at my hand and it's full of my beautiful black hair. And I go, what the hell is happening? This is crazy. And so my stress levels went from a 3 to an 11 immediately because I kept losing hair every single day from then on. And I started thinking of why this is happening. And so I thought about my family and my mom, like, oh my God, the 3 uncles that are my mom's brothers were all bald. And I go, no, this is from my mom's side and I'm going to be bald too. These are my genetics. This is my destiny. And so that was a real freak out moment for me. And I started like just reaching out to people, learning, reading, and I tried all the things I'm sure women that have had hair loss have tried: the biotin, the hair loss shampoos, the oils, the serums, all the things. None of them really stopped my hair loss. They reduced it, but it didn't stop it. I would still wake up with tons of hair on my pillow and my confidence was really taking a hit. I stopped going out as much and I would constantly think about my hair all day long and I was becoming a shell of myself. And so this went on for years. At the age of 25, I got so frustrated that I went to a hair transplant surgeon and I said, please, doc, put me out of my misery. And she goes, it was a female doctor, very good in her space in hair transplant. She goes, you're not a good candidate because you don't have a lot of hair loss in any one area. You have more of like a diffuse thinning that a lot of women get. It came from my mom, so that made sense. And I said, okay, so what do I do? She goes, well, there's one pharmaceutical you can take and it's got some side effects. And I asked her what those were, and they have sexual side effects, like sperm motility would be less, like libido would be less. And I go, I don't want this. And so I went home, but after 6 more days of lots of hair on my pillow, I called her back and I said, give me the dang pill. I'll take it. So I
Mhm.
took finasteride, which is the pill, for 10 years, and it's recommended to women or not recommended, but some doctors will ask women to take it, which it's contraindicated for a lot of women. But I took that for 10 years. And then 5 years ago, I started my podcast. I switched my major, if you will, my line of work from computer science to longevity and anti aging. And I said, you know what, now that I have a platform and a podcast, can I go find some experts and really get to the root of the problem? This has been my number one insecurity for my whole life. And so I traveled to hair loss conferences in Thailand, and then I met all the top hair loss transplant surgeons, experts, stem cell people, but also holistic practitioners. And then I came back to the States and I visited all of them individually, multiple, and we had podcast interviews and I spent hours with them in front of and behind the camera. And then I came back and read like 300 scientific studies. And what I learned after years of research was this one thing blew me away. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate on this on the that are listening, is that you probably tried a supplement, a serum, a hair loss shampoo, or something else, but most of these don't work because there's multiple reasons for hair loss. And the most important takeaway from this call is that because there are multiple reasons, you have to address it holistically using a lot of pathways. You have to go after it with multiple products to make sure you can counteract whatever's causing the hair loss, the root causes. And once you get to that, then it's much easier to stop the thinning and to grow your hair back. So that was my big aha moment that changed how I approached this whole space. And that's what led us to launch Fully Vital, which is where we sell these products.
Wow, I love that. So, and I can really appreciate that, you as a guy, even, right? You still had that concern about your hair. It's very, I remember I was in India and we were at a monastery, a Tibetan monastery, and I was doing this program to be a monk for a month.
Wow.
And everyone was shaving their heads because that's what monks do. And I was like, I'm going to shave my head too, and I couldn't do it. I just like, I kneeled down and the monk came at me and I was like, "Oh," I was like, I can't do it. And I like just, had him do a little piece in here, just like ceremonially, but
Yeah,
it's a big deal, our hair. And we want to feel good and look good. And our hair is also a sign of health. If it's falling out, like you're saying, there's different root causes. So let's talk about what are those big root causes you find, and then how did you approach them in your product? How are they being addressed?
totally. Love that question. So, the main root cause of hair thinning in men and in women is the same, it's hormonal. And for women, especially after the age of 35, and Dr. Stills, you talk about this all the time. You're the expert, and I'm sure the listeners to your podcast and your shows and summits are as well. But after the age of 35, your hormones start changing for women. Estrogen, progesterone levels start to fall. This leads to a relative imbalance with testosterone. And testosterone converts to dihydrotestosterone, or DHT, that travels up to your follicles and attaches to the receptors in your hair follicles, and it starts to shrink your hair follicles over time. So your hair gets thinner and thinner and wispier, and after a while, it's not strong enough to even grow out anymore, which is why men go completely bald.
Mhm.
Luckily for women, they don't go completely bald. It's more of a diffuse thinning, and you can definitely see it. You can see the scalp, but they don't go completely bald in one area. So a former client of mine called me 6 months ago and she said, "Hey, I turned 51, think it's the hormones, but how can I actually tell that hormones are causing my hair thinning?" So there's a very simple thing you can do in the shower. You just, next time you're washing your hair, just pull the hairs that are in your hands, because, we lose some hairs, and just stick them on the tile in the bathroom. And then you just look at them. If you see some hairs that are thinner and some hairs that are normal thickness, then that is a telltale sign that there's thinning going on due to hormones, because hormones start to thin there in the hair. So this is the number one cause for hair loss in women and also in men. And so how do you counteract this? You have to use natural. We prefer using natural ways. There's also pharmaceutical ways you could use, but they have side effects. And so there's natural herbs that you can use that reduce the conversion of testosterone to DHT. And this is the best way to do this. We have multiple herbs. There's many companies that sell products for hair. Lots of people are selling them now, but they don't have a robust solution for this. So both in our supplement, we've got multiple actives and herbs that go after that pathway and try to reduce the conversion to DHT. not only in the supplement, but also in our serums.
So, what are some of those herbs that you're using?
Totally. So we'll talk about the supplement. Saw palmetto extract is very, very effective at doing this. Everybody's probably aware or everybody has seen saw palmetto supplements online. It has been proven in clinical studies to reduce the conversion of DHT or testosterone to DHT. So that's one that we use. The other one that we use is nettle seed extract. That also has some good data on reducing the conversion of testosterone to DHT. So that those again, using more than one is you get a better chance of stopping and reducing it. Also, coming to the serum, we've got caffeine, which has been shown in scientific studies to also counteract the effects of DHT, the thinning effects of DHT. So that's one that we use.
So does that mean like if you're drinking coffee, it's counteracting or?
No. So excellent question, by the way. Drinking more coffee is not going to help your hair. Drinking any coffee is not going to help your hair. You have to apply topically to your scalp. That's how it gets into your hair follicles. This has also been proven in scientific studies. So you want a little bit of caffeine. We've added that little bit of caffeine, but it's not enough to keep you up at night, right? Just a tiny amount that gets to your hair follicles and counteracts the DHT that's acting on your hair follicles. So that's one. And then we've got other industry actives like Capixyl and Rudensil in the serum as well that also do balance the DHT in the serum.
Okay, so no pouring coffee on our head.
Now, actually, the funny story is that when I was starting off on this journey, I would make coffee and then I would use cotton and like dip it in the coffee and like put it on my scalp. And everything was a disaster, right? It was just like coffee dripping everywhere in the bathroom. And then I had to spend like 30 minutes scrubbing it off. That is not what I recommend. The caffeine that we use is colorless. So it's completely see-through. It's transparent. It's not going to mess up your counter.
That's so funny. Okay, so no pouring coffee on your head at home.
No.
So what other root causes? Are there other hormonal issues that you're seeing affect hair loss?
Yeah, I'll go over some of the bigger ones, right? So hormones, as we said, with DHT is the number one root cause. The other one that's quite common is nutritional deficiencies. So these are things that are very important for hair loss and or vitamins and minerals. And you want to be in the middle of the range. You don't want to be on the low end and you don't want to be on the high end. So what are these? There's the big five. So there's vitamin D3, there's iron, there's zinc, folate, and vitamin B12. So these are the five that you want to be in the middle of the range. And we already know that a lot of folks are deficient in vitamin D3 already. And then, especially for women that are maybe vegan, lots of women like on the coasts, even friends of mine that live in Los Angeles, go vegan for personal reasons, and that's fine. But if you're vegan, then you're at risk for being low in folate, B12, zinc, and also in iron. And so it's very, very important to get those from other sources from your food or use a supplement that makes you, that gives you enough of those nutrients. So that's the second reason that's quite common. And then we can talk about stress. That's also a big one, Dr. Stills. With stress, there's two parts to stress. There is the ongoing chronic high levels of stress. Let's say you're at a job or, there's deadlines or there's a project you're doing or there's just stress at home and taking care of the parents, which a lot of women have to go through. That can cause your hair to shift from the hair growth phase to the shedding phase. And then it just constantly falls out, right? You're just shedding hair constantly. But then there's the other side of stress, which is very, very acute stress that happens like if you get the virus that was going around, or you get a big infection, or you have a surgery. It can also be psychological. Let's say you break up, you get a divorce, you move to a new place or new city, new house. All those things that are big psychological or physical stressors will shock your body. And then 3 months later, you will lose a ton of hair, like maybe even up to half your hair. And I've had friends that got the virus a couple of years ago. Just a quick story. And nothing happened. They breezed past the virus 2 days into it. They were walking again. But 3 months later, they were losing fistfuls of hair. So I had lunch with my friend, Kristen, in Austin. And I sat down and I asked her, hey, how's it going? And there were tears flowing down her face because she was in such pain from just losing fistfuls of hair. So it's very, very important in moments of an inflection like this, when you have a lot of hair loss, you want to do a lot of things quickly to get those hair back. You don't want to, because what can happen is that sometimes there's multiple root causes that can cause the hair thinning at the same time. So you want to address all of them and make sure you get all of your hair back. So those are some of the bigger ones, and we can get into some more as well.
Okay, so I'm asking for a friend. I know I'm asking because I want to really understand this. Your product is a topical and an oral.
Yeah, so we have 4 products that work in tandem, right? So number
Okay.
1, we've got a supplement. It's called the Enhance here. This provides you with a lot of the nutrients that you need internally. So it blocks or reduces the hormones. It gives you the nutritional status. It helps you balance your stress. It lowers your inflammation. It improves your circulation, which is also very important for your hair, just blood flow and circulation and oxygen. So that's what the supplement does. Then we've got a topical serum that you apply on your scalp, which I can show here.
That's got the coffee in it.
That's got the caffeine in it, but
Don't
also
drink it.
yeah, totally. And it's transparent and see-through, so it's not going to mess up your hair. What's important about this is, again, we go after pathways. So we try to reduce the DHT levels. We try to increase circulation. We reduce inflammation. We help support your scalp health, and we help increase circulation to make sure that you're getting, if you just use it by itself, it can be very helpful, but we recommend using them together. And then we've got a hairbrush. And this is the one question I get. This is a big myth. Like, I'm losing my hair. I don't want to touch my hair. Should I be brushing? I highly recommend you to be brushing along with the other products because just massaging your scalp gets a lot of oxygen and nutrients to your scalp, and that will help regrow thicker, fuller hair. So don't be afraid if you're losing hair of brushing your hair. That's a big myth. And then finally, we've got a derma roller, which we highly recommend. It's proven in scientific studies by itself to regrow 15% of your hair. So adding that to everything else, these are the 4 products when you use together. Not only does it address a lot of the root causes behind hair thinning, but it uses different tools to kind of promote hair growth within your body.
Okay, so I want to go back. The brushing of the hair, that I never brush my hair. I like get out of the shower and just shake. So should we really be brushing our hair? Is that important?
That very good question. Like, you have been blessed, Dr. Stills, with amazing hair, so good for you. But for the rest of us mortals, it's important to brush your scalp. So probably your grandma, I don't know if yours did, but a lot of grandmas tell us, hey, brush your hair 100 times a day. And so
Mhm.
there is some truth to that. It does, you take the scalp oils and redistributes them in the hair so your hair is healthier and is shinier and it breaks less. We think that grandma meant brush your scalp at least 100 times a day because the scalp is where all the action is. The scalp is where your hair is growing. That environment is very, very important. So it's got to be clean, it's got to be healthy, and you got to massage it or brush it. So that's the advantage. And it brings a lot of oxygen and nutrients that help grow thicker and fuller hair. So that's the advantage of using or brushing it. On the flip side, you want to be careful with being too vigorous with your hair because the hair strand, you want to keep it around. Every hair can grow from 2 to 7 years. That's the typical growth cycle. So for women that want long hair, you want it to go to the full 7 years, as opposed to falling out in a year or 2 or 3, right? For men, it's not that important because my hair is short. But for
Yeah.
women, you want longer hair. You want to let it grow for as long as possible. So you want to be gentle with the hair strands, but you want to be vigorous on the scalp itself.
And now, is there something special about
Yeah.
your brush?
Totally. So
Okay.
what's special? Number one, it's wood. It's natural. It's bamboo, and so this is very, very sustainable. The product, the bamboo itself. Number two, there's no plastics here. So anytime you touch your scalp, your skin with products that contain plastics, we all know that plastics are problematic at the very least and can contain endocrine disruptors and other things that can mess up your hormones. So we don't want to mess with the body's psychology in any way. So number two, it's using wood. Number three, or it's natural. It's not plastic. And number three, it's wide. The bristles are wide, so it doesn't get caught up. And there's no balls at the end, which can get caught up in your knots. So it's meant to just glide through your hair as naturally as possible and mimic just how we used to be before the invention of plastics.
Okay, I have so many questions for you.
Okay.
So then you had the derma roller.
Yes.
Can you explain like how many times a day do you do that? How long and why that's working? Why is that different than brushing?
Totally. So here's the derma roller up close. And the reason that it looks like a medieval barbaric device, but it's very, very tiny needles. And all you do is you just roll on all thinning areas. And the way you do that is you roll 8 times top to bottom, 8 times left to right, and then 8 times each diagonally. And what this does is causes very, very tiny micro injuries to your scalp. And as a result, your body now responds. This is it's called hormesis, which I'm sure you talk
Mm.
about. Hormesis is causing a very, very tiny micro injury. So your body overcompensates and says, I need to heal this part of my body. I need to heal my scalp. So it brings growth factors, it brings stem cells, it brings all kinds of healing to remodel the collagen, but also regrow new hairs, which is a sign of health. And so it's again, this is was nobody would have thought this would be actually helpful, but in independent studies, this is found by itself with nothing else to regrow 15% of your hairs, which is why it's very important in my consideration to use it. What I do recommend is to you use it twice a week to start. It's again, it's very, very small size needle, so it's not going to hurt, it's not going to bleed. You're not going to see any blood at all. It may be a little bit not pleasant the first time, but you'll get used to it very, very quickly. And so twice a week to start, and then once you get going and you start seeing more results, you can start to ease up on it. Then you can go to once a week and then once every 2 weeks, and then you can stop at some point.
Okay. And then do you do that with your hair wet or dry?
Yeah, we recommend doing it on damp hair. You can do it on wet hair too. It's not a big deal because you're just opening up channels and causing very, very tiny micro injuries to your scalp. Now, what I do recommend after the derma roller is to apply the serum. So you
Okay.
want to, because your channels are going to be open for a little bit of time, so we can get even more deeper penetration of the serum. So it's important to apply the serum quickly after you use the derma roller. But I also don't want your hair to be wet when you're applying the serum because then it's going to get mixed up with the water. So wait for hair to be damp or dry before you apply the serum, but you can use the derma roller on wet hair or dry hair.
And then is the serum in the capsules, the mixture you have, the vitamin mixture, is that something you have to do long term, or is it something you do until your hair grows back and then you wean off of it?
Yeah, love it. That's a great question. Yes. So one thing I'll say is that aging is progressive.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, it keeps going. We have to constantly do something about it.
Right.
Having said that, your hair should be growing normally, and if there are some underlying root causes that we can help address short term and help you bring back to healthy hair, help you get the thicker, fuller hair that you deserve and you want, and if you're happy with your hair at that point, then you can start to wean off. Like I said, you can start to reduce the derma rolling to maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks or 4 weeks. So you can start to cut that down. The brushing, I would recommend you continue with it because it's free and it's good for circulation and blood flow. And then you can maybe start to reduce the serum from every day to maybe every other day to maybe every third day. And then the supplements is really up to you. If you want to support them long term, support your hair long term with supplements, you can. But if you don't want to and you think you're happy, then that's totally up to you as well. This is not by any means, I'm not saying you have to use this for the rest of your life.
Gotcha. So, what about shampoo, conditioner, washing your hair? Is it bad to wash your hair every day? Is that making it fall out more? If you can just speak a little to that, I'm curious.
Totally. Totally, totally. Great question as well. It's shampoos aren't that bad. If you are losing your hair, then you can wash your scalp every single day. It's not a big deal. However, having said that, I typically don't recommend washing every single day. For women, I think 2 to 3 times a week is a sweet spot because you want to have your body produce your natural oils, and those
Mm.
natural oils do travel down your hair and keep your hair oily, and that oil helps reduce the dryness of the hair and helps reduce breakage. So we do want the natural oils to travel down your strands. So that's number one. So maybe like a couple of times a week or maybe 3 times a week is fine. What I will say is that shampoos are the least effective form of reducing hair loss. So a lot of women I talk to, unfortunately, they're like, oh, I tried hair loss shampoos. They don't do anything because they're on your scalp for 5 minutes once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. It's not enough time. You need a serum, for example, to be sitting on your scalp for 8 hours at a time, not 5 minutes. And so they're not effective very much at hair loss. Now, there are some shampoos with caffeine that you could consider using because they have caffeine, right? That could block the DHT a little bit. That may be helpful, but by and large, do not trust hair shampoos to do anything for your hair. When it comes to conditioners, I think I recommend those because again, those help um, get some moisture into your hair strands, which will reduce the breakage. We want to reduce breakage. There's two things going on. One is there's thinning at the root of the hair, and then there's breakage that's in the middle of the hair. That has nothing to do with hair growth, right? So we want to reduce both of those things. And for breakage to stop, you want to eat omega-3 oils. You want to have, fatty foods like fish, but you also want to keep your hair moisturized a little bit so that it doesn't get dry and break off.
Gotcha. So now I'm next on my list is I'm curious because I get asked this a lot, like PRP for hair loss. Does that work or not work? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Excellent question. I've done PRP myself multiple times, and I've reviewed hundreds of studies, and I've talked to scientists that have presented on PRP, and they've seen all the meta-analysis and the meta-reviews of studies. So the data on PRP is very mixed. For some people, it can be helpful. For example, I was in Los Angeles many years ago, and I paid $2,500 one PRP treatment, and it worked for me for about 9 months. My hair got thicker, stronger, and it felt good. But 9 months later, it started thinning again. So I had to go back and spend another 2005, which I didn't do. I chose to go a cheaper route and I spent $600 with somebody I knew. And guess what happened? Nothing happened. And so there's like it's not proven. There's a lot of factors into PRP. For example, the centrifuge that the doctor uses can also play a factor. The way how healthy you are, because it's your platelets that are doing the job for you. How healthy your platelets are also matter. What I have found is that if you go to a doctor, if you're losing your hair, you go to a doctor and you say, hey, help me with hair, they're probably going to say, let's try PRP. We're going to do 3 sessions, one a month. I'm going to charge you $1,000 each. And then I don't know, if it doesn't work, I can't give you your money back. I can't, I tried. So that's the problem. You invest $3,000 or more and you invest time out of your day and there's no guarantee. So that is why I'm a little bit iffy on PRP now, having seen the data and done it myself. For some, it can be helpful, but by and large, if you're trying to solve your hair loss, Fully Vital has a much more economical solution that also offers you a money back guarantee.
And so, yeah, so I have been saying the right thing. Because that's kind of what I tell patients is like, it's kind of hit and miss, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe it'll work. Maybe it's kind of like rolling the dice. So what about red light?
Yeah. So red light can work. Now, I'll just tell you a quick story. So a lot of red light device manufacturers, the people that make the hats,
Right.
helmets, they've done studies, right? But the studies always start in the middle of summer and they go through into fall. And you go, why does that happen? Because the human hair, we have a shedding phase that comes up at the end of summer, right? It's normal to lose up to 15% of your hair at the end of summer. What these studies will do is they use red light to prevent the shed from happening and keep your hair in the growth phase for a bit longer. And then they say, see, we grew 20% more hair, but you didn't. You just saved what would have fallen out. It's going to fall out soon, but you just elongated the cycle a little bit. So the studies are, again, you have to take everything with a grain of salt. I'm a fan of red light overall, and if you can get a cheap hat, then get it from somewhere overseas. But please don't spend $1,000 or $2,000 because I talk to a lot of people that buy these clunky helmets, and after like 4 weeks, that helmet sits in a closet and it's never used again.
Mm. That's so frustrating what you just said about the study, because
Yeah.
it's like, I wish people would just be honest and not try and skew the data. So I didn't know that. So that's
Yeah.
very sad, but interesting and good to know. Um, so have you done studies on your products, or can you talk a little bit about
Yeah,
that?
totally. We are proud that we are very, very science backed. We have hair growth products and an anti-gray hair products.
That's right. I forgot about that. We're
Yeah,
going to
no,
talk
totally.
about that too.
Absolutely. The anti-gray products, we have partnered with Dr. Sandra Kaufman, who has written 2 longevity books. She's very well known in the space. She speaks on conferences all the time. So she's been the lead scientist behind getting that product out and doing all the research on it. For the hair growth, again, we are going after a lot of pathways that are science-backed and looking studies. In terms of studies, we are looking to do a clinical later on this year and hopefully get that done by the end of next year. We're not going to do in the middle of summer to get you 20% more hair, which were yours to begin with. We're going to probably do it later on this year and we'll have the results available early next year. In lieu of that, in the meantime, what we do offer is a 4-month money back guarantee for anybody that buys Fully Vital, because what we see is that other companies will offer you a 30-day money back guarantee. And The hair cycle just takes a little bit more time. It will take about 3 months for you to see results. And so that's why we offer 4-month money back guarantee. So you get enough time to see results or not. And if you don't like your results, then you can return the products to us. We're not going to ask any questions, just pay you your money back. So that's our way of guaranteeing our results for now. And then,
Mm,
of course, like I said, we're working on the study as well.
love that. And then just real quick, because I totally forgot about the anti-gray. So, because that is also an issue. And a lot of my patients, followers are always saying, what's a good organic, like hair coloring, or they're not going organic and they're dyeing their hair. And I'm like, that's seeping in and it's not good for your liver and it's not good for your scalp.
Yes.
And so what is this product and what are you targeting for the slowing down the graying process?
Totally. Absolutely. So we found out that there's, again, multiple pathways why hair goes gray. One of them is the increase of hydrogen peroxide. Unfortunately, this is the ingredient that's used in a lot of bleaching products
Mm,
that women use. Hydrogen peroxide is what bleaches the hair. But every cell of your body makes hydrogen peroxide on its own when it's creating energy in the mitochondria. And so hydrogen peroxide is just the byproduct of creating energy, and it's your body has natural mechanisms to get rid of it. Unfortunately, as you get older, those mechanisms start to decrease. These are the antioxidants like glutathione and catalase. And so what we have, and there's other reasons as well, which I can talk about. What we have is that we want to go after all the pathways that you get grays, for example. The other reasons could be that your stem cells get depleted. The third reason could be you get sun exposure, and that sun damages the DNA of the cells that are creating the pigment. And so those will die. And so how do we protect the DNA? That's also a mechanism we go after. High levels of homocysteine will cause more gray. So how do we safely lower homocysteine? Yeah, safely lower homocysteine levels in your body. Elevated stress levels can cause gray. So how do we naturally balance the stress levels? So we've gone after 5 or 6 pathways. It's very science-backed, very science-oriented, and we target all of those pathways. So for hydrogen peroxide, we're helping increase the levels of glutathione in your body, for example, and also providing multiple antioxidants that help scavenge the hydrogen peroxide within your cells. And so that will reduce the incidence of just grays coming off. And also, like I said, we target how to reduce the stress levels. We also target how to protect your cells and your DNA if it gets hit by sunlight or other ionizing radiation, for example. And I can talk about this for a long time, which I'm very passionate about. We believe this is the most comprehensive solution naturally that helps not only delay gray hairs, but also helps reverse some of your gray hairs. If you're more than 40%
yeah.
gray, don't
I
expect
was
you to
going to
go.
ask, like, can you reverse it totally? Or
I wish, I wish. I think that that's going to be the longevity experts that are in a Harvard lab somewhere. They'll figure that out. For now, we can definitely delay and we can reduce some. So, for example, when I used it in my beard, just the serum alone, I had a 40% reduction in gray hairs in my beard, which was great, but it wasn't 100%. So, I just want to set the stage that it's not going to magically overturn or reverse everything, but it will help quite a bit.
Interesting. So, and redheads, we don't really go gray. We
Yeah.
go blonde. So like now I'm like a blonde. It's really interesting. And then we go white.
Yeah, you really lucked out, Dr. Stills. You have great hair, a lot of hair, and it's red, so it'll go to blonde and there won't be grays. So
Yeah. So, but I,
good for
I
you.
have compassion for women who, and I do. I say, at the end of the day, when you look in the mirror, I want you to feel good about yourself. And if you look in the mirror and you don't feel good, it affects your health overall. So there's, this inverse relationship to how we look outer and how we are inner. And
Mm.
so I love the work that you're doing. I learned like a number of things just from our talk, and make sure you stay tuned. I know this is just the kickoff and of the summit, and we've got 7 full days coming, but stay tuned, stay on my email list because I want to learn more. So Faraz and I are going to definitely do a webinar together. If you're on my list, you'll be invited and we can dive deeper and learn more because unfortunately, our time is up and I have like more questions. So I'm going to ask you those when we connect. So how do the women, if they want to learn more about you, website, I believe you have a podcast too. So give us the deets on where to find you.
Totally. So the website for the hair wellness products is called fullyvital.com. So you can go there if you want to buy products. Also, make sure to use Dr. Sharon's code, Sharon15, to get 15% off all of your orders. We also have Instagram for the Fully Vital. It's called Fully Vital Hair. And then personally, I have a podcast on anti-aging and longevity, which I'm proud of, and I would love to have Dr. Sharon on it as well. It's called Anti-Aging Hacks, so you can check me out there. And also I'm on Instagram at Anti-Aging Hacks as well.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you. I'm like so excited. So go check him out. Go to fullyvital.com, put in Sharon15, you'll get a good discount. And I'm super excited about these products. Full disclosure, as we were talking, I'm like writing down names of patients that I'm like, oh, they need this, they need this. So I'm really excited. I love how it's really comprehensive and it's not just something you're taking, it's something you're applying. I'm going to start brushing my hair now. So this is just fantastic. So thank you for sharing your knowledge, and we're going to keep sharing your knowledge. So stay tuned, and thank you all for being here. And let's all grow our hair and feel good when we look in the mirror. So we'll be back with another talk. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Dr. Talks. We hope today's episode has enlightened and inspired you on your path to optimal health. Each day is a new opportunity to make choices that empower your well-being. For more insights and strategies, subscribe to our podcast and visit our website, www.drtalks.com. Stay connected, stay healthy, and join us next time on Dr. Talks. Real talks from real doctors on the issues that matter to you most.